Navigating through the teenage years is already tricky, with so much going on in our bodies and now so much going on in the world around us. In this series, we're going to explore some of these important topics that can impact us right now in this time during our lives. I'm Kim, and this is Teenacious. We all have people who influence us, who we hang out with, who we listen to, who we follow on social media. They all influence our decisions and our thoughts. Do you have someone in your life that you would consider a true friend? Do you have friends in your life that maybe you have a lot of fun with? A friend that you've been friends with since you were born? Maybe friends that encourage you? Maybe you have some friends that put you down. Well, today we're going to explore the topic of friendship and how it can have a positive impact in our life and how we can make good choices and how we actually know what a good friend is and what a good friend isn't. Friendship should be a pretty simple concept, right? But right now, in a society of a lot of things unclear, it would seem the definition of friendship is also unclear. I mean, if you have a friend online, you have 1,000 friends, does that make them a true friend? Do you know them in real life? Do you see them on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a yearly basis? We also have friends that are really healthy for us, friends that build us up, friends that encourage us. And we also have friends that can be a bit toxic to our lives. Friends that really aren't friends at all. Friends that pull us down, that compete with us, that are envious of us, and aren't good for our human flourishing. I want to explore this concept of friendship and give some tips in this episode on how you know what makes a good friend. I decided to sit down with the teenagers and ask them what they thought the attributes of a good friend was and the attributes of a not so good friend was. This is what they had to say. Okay, so today we're talking about friendship, and I know as a teenager myself, being in a school environment, friendships affected my day, sometimes it affected my week in good and bad ways. So I guess I want to ask you guys, what qualities are you looking for when you think of a friend that is a good friend?
When I think of someone who I want to be my good friend is someone who's down to earth, who's willing to be truthful with you, who's willing to be open to you and just have that kind of more, friendly relationship where you can confide in each other.
Yeah, so honesty and trust is a big factor when it comes to friendship, yeah? Yep.
When I think of someone as friend, it's probably someone I can just be myself around. I don't have to be someone special to try and look good for them. I can just be who I am.
A good friend will always have your back, and if you're a good friend, you should always have their back as well. So
yeah, definitely. So backs you up. So what about friends that say that they're friends but maybe aren't friends?
Someone who talks about you behind your back.
Yeah. So gossip is a big no friendship
that
thing.
Wants you to have someone that wants you to fail, and they
Someone who doesn't have your best interests
That's the word.
at heart and wants you to fail.
People who are friends that are only friends with you because of a reason that isn't because they want to be friends with you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so they have ulterior motives.
Ulterior motives,
Yeah. After our conversation with the teenagers, it sounds like everyone's pretty clear on the qualities they're looking for with a good friend or for a good friend. Things like honesty, being truthful, being loyal, being authentic. They're all attributes of a good friend. I sat down with my friend Georgina, who has recently finished high school, to tell me some stories about the different types of friends she's had in her life and the impact that has had.
I know for myself as a young Catholic woman and just in everyday life, friendship is really important and it really fuels you on that journey. Someone once said, show me your 5 best friends and I'll show you your future. I think that's so important and so true. The people that you hang out with really shape a lot of who you become. For me, I've been so blessed by so many beautiful friends in my life, and especially just coming out of high school, those friends pull me through. Sometimes it was very tough, but every day coming to school and seeing them and their joy and love for for life. Sometimes not school as much because it was a bit tough, but that really made it so worthwhile and so joyful and such a awesome thing. The friends that sometimes perhaps pull me in not the best way, I sometimes find myself slipping and maybe swearing a bit or gossiping or whatever it is, but there are also a lot of really good friends in my life as well. Sometimes though, friendship, it can be tough and you really have to fight for it. When I was in about year 11, one of my best friends, she started to date this boy and he was really cool and I obviously really loved her very much, so I was really supportive of that relationship. But yeah, it was hard. It became harder when she started to put a lot of her time there and less in our friendship. And I found that really hard to deal with because I'm sort of someone who likes affection and attention, and that was tough. And our friendship sort of started to drift off a bit and started to, fade away in some respects. But I really held on for dear life and I didn't want to let her go, so I put in a lot of effort in that friendship. And in many ways she responded well and she understood that where I was coming from. But in other ways, our friendship wasn't the same after that. That relationship did end up ending and our friendship did change and we are still friends today, but not as close as we once were. But I think in some respects that's okay, and I've still taken so much from that friendship and her and who she is. I still really admire her as a person and I have lots of other good friends now.
I meet so many people, myself included, who have been through a journey of friendship. For me, growing up, I was the type of person who loved one-on-one friends. I liked to be just me and another friend, to talk about life, the meaning of life, stuff like that. I also know there's people who are group people. They love being in a group. The bigger the group, the happier they are. They thrive in group friendships. Whether you're a one-on-one person or whether you're a group person, I want to share with you some tips on what actually makes a good friend, because it can be confusing what actually makes a good friend. So I've got some tips for you today. So the first one I want to say is that a good friend accepts you for who you are. A good friend doesn't say, I only like you when you're like this. A good friend doesn't say, I only like you if you like the same things as me. That's not what a good friend says. A good friend loves and accepts you for who you are. When you're having good days, when you're having bad days, a good friend accepts you for who you are. Number 2, a good friend tells and speaks the truth. Now, when I say this, I don't mean a friend is mean to you when they speak the truth. There are so many people I know that say, oh yeah, that person's such a good friend because they always just tell me the truth really bluntly. There's a way to speak the truth. And I like to say a good friend speaks the truth in love. So just say you were wearing a t-shirt and it didn't look that great. And you asked your friend, what does it look like? Now, some people might say, oh, it's terrible, take it off. I think there's a better way to say it. Maybe a better way a good friend to speak and tell the truth would say, I reckon you look better in this shirt. It's still speaking the truth, but it's speaking the truth in love. Just because you're a good friend, it doesn't give us permission to actually be mean and nasty and blunt to one another. It's always really important to speak the truth in love. The third tip I want to give you, and this is my favorite tip, okay? Good friends celebrate each other's victories. There are so many times when I remember my daughters in their teenage years coming home and they're like, yes, I got the lead in the school musical, or I got house captain, or I got to be a leader at this school. But my friends are so hurt that they didn't get in, they're not talking to me. Who needs enemies when it's our friends who are the ones that are pulling us down or paying out on us? All of us need a friend that can celebrate our victories with us, because in reality, life is not always just about us. So there are times when something great's going to happen to me and I want friends around me who are going to say, yes, Kim, I'm so happy for you. Not compete against me, not be jealous, not rob some of my joy by, I guess, being mean to me in that moment. So remember, good friends celebrate each other's victories. of friendship, good or bad, that impacted your day or your life?
Well, actually moving here, I had one friend who was always really supportive when we were together and always, very glad to be around me. Oh, so it seemed. And then she emphasized, I'm going to keep in such close contact with you when you move. You're going to be we're still going to be close. You're going to be one of my best friends until the end kind of thing. And when I moved, I've been here for 2 months and I have not heard one word from her. She doesn't text me. She hasn't said anything. So it just from moving, it really showed some people's true colours. Even some other people who I weren't as close with, it really showed they didn't really have that kind of connection that I thought we did.
So I guess what you're really saying is maybe a good friend is someone who doesn't matter about time or space, still sticks by you, whether you see them or not. Anyone have a friend that you've known since you were born? I call it womb buddies, a buddy that you've known. Twins, yes.
Well, me and Levi have been mates since at least prep, and sure, sometimes another guy would have come along and been like, "Oh, I'm gonna take Levi from you," and I'm gonna be like, "Oh wow," But yeah, it's almost almost like low-key brothers. It's just crazy. You see all these posts on Instagram if you've known someone for at least 7 years of your life, you're no longer friends. You're actually family or something.
And that's true, because a true friend sticks by you like family. And I know you guys, as you guys went through year 1, year 2, year 3, you weren't necessarily in the same class that whole time. So lots of people thought you guys were gonna drift away, but it wasn't proximity that kept you friends. It was, what do you think it was? What do you think it was, Levi? Hold up.
I think it's probably because we've got such a tight, close friendship group. Even though we're in the separate classes, we can still catch up at lunch. We can still just head down to the table, lunchtime table, and just talk and stuff like that. And because David and I are in different classes this year, that's the same. That's the case.
Yeah.
We just catch up at lunch. It's not being in separate classes is going to affect it.
Yeah.
I have friends who believe the same things as me and those who don't. And even in those ones where we sometimes do conflict, I guess, with our personal beliefs, I still learn a lot and still am so blessed by those relationships. Jesus, after all, had his core 12 friends. One of them wasn't as good as the others, but the main 11 were quite good to him, and he needed them on his journey to do his ministry. And I think in the same way, we need those people that are going to journey with us and who are going to go through life and walk with us through those really tough times and through the really good ones. I know coming out of school and now into university, I sometimes see my friends even more than my family in the week. So you know that those relationships are important if you are spending so much time. So having friends at school made that a lot easier when it was tough, even when the day was really long and the workload, especially in year 12, was very full on. Just having that 20 minutes or half an hour at lunchtime where we would all just talk about random things and just unpack the day and just have a laugh really made such a difference. But I also found for myself that a lot of my friends came from outside of school. I went to a youth group all throughout high school, and a lot of my really close friends came from there. I found that I could be myself in a different way. I could share all the aspects of myself, not just the ones that perhaps were sort of fun. And going to youth group, really, I was able to be myself, as I sort of said, but also being formed in my faith and coming to know Jesus and coming to know people who spoke about him a lot. I sort of started to get a new sense of self-confidence in myself that I hadn't had before. And that made it so much easier making friends, that sense of self-confidence. And I now take that everywhere I go. At university, people find it sort of a bit shocking when I just walk up to them and say g'day. And a lot of my really good friends now at uni are actually have just come from that, just from saying g'day and having a chat and just getting to know someone for who they are. When a year 12 would know my name, I just felt so validated and so welcomed. And I think with that same perspective, trying to know people's names and finding out about them and sort of seeing them as maybe Jesus does, that is something that only has benefited me in my life.
The fourth point I want to say is that your best friend doesn't need to be at school. Sometimes when you're going from primary school into high school, not all your friends go to the same school as you. And there can be a lot of pressure to feel like you have to make a best friend in a couple of weeks. And some people I've heard go, oh, I have a best friend already. And that can sometimes make you feel like, how come I don't have a best friend already? Well, the reality is it takes time to be best friends. You don't just magically be best friends in 3 weeks. You can get along with someone really well, but you can't be true best friends only in 3 weeks. It takes time. You might have that friend that you grew up with. Maybe you've known since you were born or since kindergarten, and they're not going to the same school as you. And so you start to compare and can put pressure on the friends that are at school to say, you should be like my best friend that I've known my whole life. That's not possible. So take some pressure off your friendship groups and say, you know what? It's okay that my best friends that I've known my whole life aren't at the same school as me. It is really good to have people at school that you can hang out with. Number 5, be deliberate about your friendships. If you don't like your friends, then maybe it's time to change friendship groups. As Georgina said in her testimony, there's that saying that says, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future. It also means that you are like the 5 people you hang out with. Your 5 top best friends, you're probably like them because we actually influence each other. So it's okay if you're hanging out with a group of friends that you look around one day and go, I don't really like the values that these people have. I don't really like doing the things that this group has, to decide I'm going to change groups. Now, you don't have to announce it and you don't have to make a big deal out of it, like I'm not hanging out with you anymore. It can just be a very quiet, gentle leaving of the group and joining another group. And finally, if you want to make a friend, you have to be a friend. I meet a lot of people, girls especially, who say to me, I don't have any friends, no one wants to talk to me, right? Do people want to be friends with people who say that all the time? I like to say, if you want to make a friend, be a friend. Be the type of friend that people want to have. If you're always saying, I'll only hang out with you if you do the things that I want to do, then sometimes it's hard to hang out with those types of people. So be the friend that you want to have, and hopefully that will help. Be okay with your own company as well while you're waiting for those friends to come along. You know, a good friend is rare. Often we're told to be friends with everyone. Now, you can't be friends with everyone. You can't be friends with 1,000 people on Facebook and all be best friends with them. The Bible says a good friend is hard to find. He who has found one has found a treasure. That means if you find a good friend, someone who accepts you for who you are, someone who speaks the truth to you in love, someone who celebrates your victories, someone who is deliberate about your friendship and works on it, that friend is worth fighting for. If you find one of those people in your life, the Bible says you found a treasure and it's worth fighting for. I think friendship can enhance our lives in a way that can bring us so much joy and so much companionship. I hope that as we've been talking about this, you've kind of thought about those people in your life. You've been sitting there going, yeah, I know that person, or there's some people in my life maybe that are not fruitful for my life. I hope that you're brave enough to make some of those choices after listening to this episode. See you next time.
lot of talk in our church today about the new evangelisation, and we might ask, well, what's new about the new evangelisation? One thing that's new is that we're trying to renew the faith in people who should already be Catholic, should already be Christian. Individuals, families, communities, whole cultures that need to rediscover the gospel. And so what's new is that they're getting a new shot in the arm of faith, of evangelisation. Another thing that's new about it is the way that we do that. And the new media and groups like Shalom World TV are very important for bringing the gospel anew to our cultures, to our families, to each of us individually. And so I encourage all the viewers of Shalom World TV, and I encourage Shalom World TV themselves to keep up the good work, to keep watching this channel and to keep up the good work of presenting the Catholic faith to our world today.